And good morning, Ozarks. We're going to be talking today about the holidays, how the holidays can hurt your case. Coming up next on the Disability Guy, right after this.
I want to be your disability rep.
And we are back. So, holidays are coming up.
They are, yeah.
Now, but that can be bad for your disability case somehow.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting as a representative and having done this for so long, I always look at the times of the years, and then I think about how that translates into medical records and causes problems for us down the road. And this time of year causes a lot of problems for folks that are trying to get their Social Security disability. And the reason for that is there are chores this time of year that just simply cannot be ignored. And people participate in those things despite their health, right? And the leaves pile up on your front porch, you do something with the leaves. A lot of times people will break something like raking the leaves into very small segments, work on them just a little bit with lots of breaks. But what happens a lot of times is they'll trip on a stick or they'll twist their back. They'll end up at the doctor. They tell the doctor that you were raking leaves. Yeah. And of course, the judge looks at that later and says, my gosh, you're out there raking leaves. What's wrong with your back? How bad can it really be? It's not the whole story, right? It's not that it doesn't get conveyed that you worked for 5 minutes at a time. You had to go lay down for a day. You had to take extra medication. You know, it was killing you. Those things don't always come through in the records. We just see raking leaves. Yeah, and the same kind of thing happens too with Thanksgiving and then again with Christmas. Right? You know, Thanksgiving dinner doesn't cook itself.
Right.
A lot of times, despite no matter how bad off the mother of the family is, she'll cook Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, just regardless. And, you know, people go all out. It's a family tradition. We're not going to break that. I know my mother used to drag out the china that her dad had bought for them when they were kids, and we'd hand wash them, you know, at Thanksgiving, and Mom would sit there and lean over the sink and cry while she finished washing the dishes. But by God, we did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Every year, and it was important to her to do it.
Took the kids sledding?
Yeah.
You may have sat in the car the whole time.
No, my mother used to slide with us some too. If we looked at the things my mother did when she was on disability, it didn't translate to disability. You know, it's just unfortunately we don't see the kind of back room, the rest of the story a lot of times. And you know, you can see people get hurt at Thanksgiving, lifting the turkey in and out of the oven. Christmas shopping, the hustle, the bustle. You know, we have social anxiety issues oftentimes, but we still end up out at the mall. We still end up out in public doing shopping. A little better with Amazon now, right?
Yeah, I guess that's right.
A lot of people can, you know, shop that way.
Don't forget about Temu.
Yeah, sure. But, you know, a lot of people continue to do these things. They feel like they have to. And I guess the social obligation is so large that they kind of put their disability on a back burner, and they end up in the doctor's office for some reason. And we see these kind of tidbits. You know, you show up at your counselor, family was over, there was a lot of hustle bustle, there was kids running around. It really stressed me out, and they broke down. They decompensated afterwards. But, you know, the judge is going to look at that and say, well, you were at a family gathering, you were hosting a party, you were doing all these things that don't really jive with your condition.
But now as an advocate, when that actually gets in front of the judge and the judge is reviewing those records, that's an opportunity to clean that up.
It is to a point, right? And I mean, you serve as a judge in a couple different communities. I mean, you know how it is when somebody comes in and tells you a story that's vastly different than all the rest of the records. What do you do with it?
Sure, yeah.
I mean, what's your mental process?
You got to weigh the weight of the evidence.
That's right. And, you know, you talk about Social Security is kind of a deny-happy program anyway. And I don't think people get that benefit a lot of times. We have judges that approve 10, 12% of the people that they see.
Yeah. Wow.
And so, if you kind of put that filter on things, when you get in hearing and you try to clean that up, you may not make enough progress.
So in some circumstances, we're just looking for almost any excuse to deny.
Yeah, I won't say that out loud.
Yeah. Okay, I said it. You didn't say it. I said it.
Yeah, so what's important, kind of the takeaway, and we've talked about this a lot of times, if you end up at the doctor's office with a complaint, I'm not saying lie to the doctor about what it is that you've done.
Sure.
Just make sure that there's enough clarity that the doctor understands that despite your best efforts to protect yourself and to accommodate your condition, you still ended up hurt from it.
Well, you mentioned several shows ago, and this is how good my memory is, that you have the opportunity to kind of write your own medical record. You can write a narrative, and then you can take that to the doctor and ask that they put that in your medical records. So, and this just seems like a great scenario where you could write out ahead of time, hey, I was raking the leaves, I was raking them in 5-minute increments, I was taking, an hour break between each incident. However, I still am here. So that you give that to the doctor as your upfront explanation. That goes into the medical record. That seems like that might go a long way.
Yeah, I think it would help tremendously. I think the doctor's going to tell you that you have to go to medical records to get that forced in.
Okay.
So, if you're in the Cox or the St. John's network, you may have to go to medical records. But no, you're exactly right. Fantastic idea to kind of get ahead of that, I guess would be the way to put that.
All right, great.
Yeah, and I've had instances with my own care team or my own doctor that I've went in and we've talked about things, and next time I went, it's like they had no earthly idea we had ever talked about them. It was like I was a new patient. My doctor recently, the little, I don't know what it is, the little go in a box as opposed to a colonoscopy. My doctor the other day told me, colonoscopy time's coming up here pretty quick. And I said, is it going to be another one of these poop in a box things? And he looked at me odd and he goes, you've never done that. And it's like, no, you ordered that, guy.
Yeah.
And so, it comes up from time to time that our doctors just aren't very good recorders.
Yeah, well, that's not what they're trained to do, so I guess. Hey, if you've got questions, you can contact Roy. His number's on the screen, 417-812-6698. He'd be happy to take your call. I really think today's one of the days that really highlights the importance of having an advocate, not trying to go alone. There's just so many pitfalls, that people don't know about unless they've been through it before.
Yeah. And, the thing is, I tell people all the time is, you don't convince Social Security to approve you. You take away all the avenues for them to deny you.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what this all comes down to.
Yeah.
You may be creating avenues for denial in your record set and not even know it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today. Roy, thanks for being here. Thanks for the good advice. We'll be back next week. Thanks for watching.
I want to be your disability rep.